That's one of the things about grinding halts especially is it isn't any great revelation. It's slow. And it's the same way with stopping. Stopping is cumulative. And if you just do, if you say 3 still points in a day, that's great. But if you do 3 still points every day for a week, that's different. It's cumulative. It adds up. And the space that it creates for you is also cumulative. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
This is the Amber Lillestrøm Show, a podcast for the visionary, the disruptivator, and the passionate soul on a mission. I'm Amber Lillestrøm, mom and wife, branding strategist, business coach, and creator of the Ignite Your Soul Summit. Each week, we will bring you intimate conversations to get to the heartbeat of what matters most to you in life and in business. Are you ready? Let's rock. And that was David J. Coons. He's a retired licensed marriage and family therapist and a former Catholic priest and author of 7 books. David earned graduate degrees in psychology and theology and his doctoral degree as a doctor of science and theology in the field of pastoral psychology from the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley, California. He's originally from Cleveland, Ohio. He spent 20 years as an ordained priest working in the Catholic Diocese of Boise, Idaho, and in California. He went on to build a successful private marriage and family counseling practice in Berkeley, California for those 20 years. And he also offered workshops in the areas of human resources, stress management, and emotional health as the director of Inside Track seminars. He's written 7 books, which feature books like Quiet Mind, 1 Minute Mindfulness, Nothing's Wrong, A Man's Guide to Managing His Feelings, and Ministry Among God's Queer Folk, LGBTQ Pastoral Care. And of course, his most recent book, The Art of Stopping, How to Be Still When You Have to Keep Going. In The Art of Stopping, David saw something that exemplified his own experience along the way when he had a moment of a grinding halt, which allowed him to go from a state of being rather lost after 15 very busy years as a Catholic priest, where he was very much successful and content, to finding a new way entirely to live his life. He shares in his interview about how he just stopped, and in doing so, he found his way again. He talks about the 3 different ways in which we get to the art of stopping: still points, stopovers, and grinding halts. And as the book is aptly titled, The Art of Stopping, ways in which integrating stop points, still points in our days can cumulatively change the way that we live in our day-to-day lives. It's an emotional conversation. It's a powerful conversation. We talk about the mountain of too much and how so many of us are in this place and space, especially after the last year and a half plus that we've gone through with the global pandemic, of having less time, less energy, and too much to do, and really how to shift the way that we live in order to be in the space of greater fulfillment and joy. This conversation is right up my alley. This is my favorite kind of podcast interview to have, and I hope that you get as much value from it as I did in having it. This is David Coons, The Art of Stopping, How to Be Still When You Have to Keep Going. All right, friend, stop what you're doing right this second. Before we get into the interview, I have something so exciting to share with you. I have a new phone number that you can text me at. I am building my own community space, and I now have the ability to do my most favorite thing, which is communicate with you, my people, my crew, my posse. So all I need you to do is grab your phone right now and head on over to my new phone number, which is 603-931-4386, and send me a text message. What will happen is immediately you will get a little link to click on to put your deets in so that I can add you to my phone and you can add me to yours, and we can connect in this new, awesome, more direct way. What we're going to be doing with the text messaging support is offering daily inspiration. In addition to that, we're going to be offering heads up and special access to podcast episodes when they drop before others even know about it. I'll be sharing other tips and other funny behind the scenes things, and you will have the first opportunity to connect for my upcoming free trainings as a result. So one more time, grab your phone, text me at 603-931-4386 and join my text community. I'm so excited to shoot you back a message, send you a little voice memo, send you a little video right here from the pond, and connect even more intimately than we are here on the podcast. Thank you guys. I appreciate you, and I can't wait to see your name pop up on my phone. All right, friends, welcome back to the show. I'm so excited for this conversation today with David Coons. David, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you, Amber.
So we were just talking before we hit record about who is listening to this show and the women and a few good men that are here who are living life at warp speed, who are the visionaries of their families, the people that are doing everything and more. And I can guarantee feeling not only overwhelmed, but underwater. And I this conversation today with you about your book, The Art of Stopping, How to Be Still When You Have to Keep Going, is for those folks. It's for me as well, and for my family and my friends. And I'm so honored that you're here. So thank you for taking the time, not only to be on this podcast interview, but also to write this book.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk about the pathway to you getting to this work, because you obviously don't write a book, The Art of Stopping, without the lived experience that led you to have to stop. So can you bring us into the story of you and what led to you penning this book?
Sure, I'd be glad to. Yeah, I was a happily adjusted clergyman going along with life. I was a priest in a parish and doing fine until the bottom fell out. And that's a whole story unto itself. But the bottom did fall out. So I didn't know what to do. I was in early midlife and everything just seemed to be totally overwhelming. So what I did without knowing what I was doing is I stopped. I went away. I got permission from my bishop to go away. I got a cabin on the north coast of California, and I sat and looked at the ocean for a month because I was like paralyzed. I didn't know where to go, what to do. I didn't know if I was going to be able to keep the values that I had had all my life and that I wanted to keep. And so I was basically a mess. So I went up there and I did nothing because I didn't know what else to do. And after the month, I came back to my life, and it was only later, much later, that I realized what I had done. And that's what I called it stopping. Doing nothing in order to wake up and remember who you are and what you want and what you need. Stopping is doing nothing as much as possible for a long time or a short time in order to wake up, remember who you are and what you want. Now, with life so overwhelming, I call it the mountain of too much. We have more and more and more to cram into the same 24 hours and to the same amount of human energy, and something's going to bust. And I think we're all feeling the strains of that bust right now. Something's got to stop. So that's what I'm encouraging, stopping, doing nothing. A lot of people will say, well, now, okay, it sounds like what you're asking me to do is add something more to my life. It's already too busy. You want me to take time out and stop? And I'm going to say, yes, yes, that's what I'm asking. But the way into stopping is what I call still points, very brief moments of stillness added to your day. And believe me, if that happens, you'll come to the end of your day more refreshed and more alive and more able to cope with what you have to cope with. So the entrance into stopping is to do those still points. We can talk more about that later.
I would love that. And I think first what comes up for me is the guilt factor. And I can hear, it's like I can hear the voices of those listening being like, well, that's great that you got to go away for a month and do nothing, but who is taking care of the kids and who is working to pay the bills? And like, David, how? So walk us into the how.
The how, again, and I do realize that, and I don't want to be glib here because I know I was able to take a month, and who can do that? Not many people. So the way into stopping, again, I'll repeat it, is to do still points, because you don't even notice that that's time taken. Still, what is a still point? A still point is taking anywhere from a few seconds to a few moments to even up to an hour or so of being still and doing nothing. But let's talk about the really short times, just a few seconds. Here's an example. You're at work. Get up and go into the bathroom, close the door, lock the door if you can. Look in the mirror. Just look at yourself. Don't do anything. Don't say anything. Well, if you want to say something to yourself, fine. Give yourself an affirmation, fine. But just be still. Just be still. Put a little water in your face. Go back to your desk. Do that 5, 10, 15, 20 times a day. Every time you go to the copy machine, every time you answer the phone, have those little still points. And that time will add up. I'm convinced of this. Those times will add up to make you want to do a longer time of stopping. And if you want to do it, you'll do it. Even no matter how busy you are. If you really want something, you'll do it.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's
those
true.
little still points will make you want to do it. That's my conviction anyway.
Yeah, before our interview today, I went out. We have a dock. We live on a lake. And so my still points will be going and just putting my feet in the water and just standing there. Just doing I'm doing nothing. I'm just standing there, or going to the end of the dock and just feeling the wind on my face and just noticing what I notice and taking those couple minutes. Even if it's like I might be a minute late for a call, it's worth it to me to go and get that little breather in before I come back to sit in this chair and to engage with someone.
Perfect example of a still point. Yeah. Now, I can say the same thing to you that you said to me earlier. Even I was able to get away for a month, and you have a dock.
Yeah.
And not everybody has a dock.
That's right.
Not everybody can get away for a month. So we have to be realistic about this and know that people are mightily struggling. And if they knew how to get out of this, they would.
Yes.
You know, and I'm saying, I think this can help you get to a point of peace in your life. It's not going to change what's going on in your life, because that you can't basically change a lot of the times. But what it can do is give you a tool to feel peaceful and centered in the midst of everything you have to cope with.
Yeah, and you're right. Well, and it changes your state of being, right? It's about a state, it's shifting. And it's also building the muscle of knowing you can go there on a regular basis, and being able to do that, whether it's in traffic or when your kid is having a meltdown and throwing blocks or whatever. It's the moment in the grocery store line when the line is 1,000,000 miles long and it's the dead of winter, and you're like, I gotta carry all this stuff in. And I'm so grateful that I can afford to buy food for my family, but also, when's it going to be summer? You know, like it's those moments to just take a beat and to breathe. And I love this invitation that you're giving to us, because it is so simple, and it's so simple that so many of us might look over it, right? Like look past it.
Exactly. Very good insight. It's so simple that you miss it.
Yes.
And absolutely true. And one of the things I want to emphasize is that the basis of stopping is the belief and the acceptance that each of us has the wisdom and the self-knowledge that we need. It's in us. It's within us. Every tradition, every religious and spiritual tradition, East and West, tell us that. The exact same thing. Go within. It's within you that you'll find the wisdom. And my little system of stopping is an attempt, a pipeline to get to that wisdom, to still the distractions and the voices and the mountain of too much that surrounds us, so that we can actually hear the voices. The voices are there. They're always, but we don't hear them because the other voices are so loud, so screaming, and so demanding.
Yes.
All we have to do is give that voice a chance. Give that voice a chance in a short time, and then maybe you'll be convinced to do the longer times. There's 3 ways of stopping. I divide it into still points, stopovers, and grinding halts. Still points we've talked about. Those are those brief moments that you get throughout your day of being still and turning your energy in. Stopovers are a little bit longer time, say a day or a weekend or a couple of days. And if you do still points, you'll want to do stopovers. And if you want to do them, you will do them. Here's a challenge for your listeners. Think of the possibility sometime in the next week or two, putting on your calendar an X to X out 1 hour of your time when you can do it, when you'll be alone. No one will be bothering you. You might have to wait a long time to do this, but somehow get an hour on your calendar in which you're alone and you have no one will bother you. Now I want you to go into a place, a room, maybe in your home or a library or a church or a park or someplace where you won't be bothered. And I want you to sit there for an hour. Just sit there. Don't do anything. Don't think anything. Just be blank. Let thoughts come and let thoughts go. Just be still for an hour. Now, some people might think, boy, that really sounds pretty bad. That sounds sort of boring. Because I'd be thinking, oh, all these things I have to do. My kids are this, or
Yeah.
It's there. It's always there. It's always going to be there. Always. And yes, you can punch through that resistance. And yes, you can sit still for an hour. It was Marcel Proust who said, all of human beings' troubles stem from the fact that a person can't sit still in a room.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true. We can't sit still because something's going to happen, or I'm going to get too nervous, or something's going to come up and jump out at me, or I'm going to remember something that's horrible. And if something like that does happen, you better deal with it anyway. So let it happen.
Right.
But you know what? In my experience, that doesn't happen. There's no monsters. There's no monsters waiting to pounce on us. No, it's our own inner peace that's waiting for us.
Mm. Yeah, that's so beautiful. You said in your book, I love this part where you talk about stopping is taking notice of the space between the notes. It's making the space between the notes important, and is transforming the space between the notes into life-giving alertness and remembering. Can you talk about the pauses? I mean, it's so poetic, right? This idea of moving in between the notes, but that's exactly what we're talking about, and how rich life becomes when we're not just living the thing, we're living the whole spectrum of the on the way to the thing and after the thing and fully in the thing, right? I mean, that's life.
That's life. Exactly. And it's the space between the notes. There's a poem in my book. I don't know if I should take the time to read it.
Please, I would love that. That would be beautiful.
Okay, it's a poem, Finding the Spaces Between the Notes. It's Rilke's poem. Here it is. My life is not this steeply sloping hour in which you see me hurry. Much stands before me. I stand before it like a tree. I am only one of my many, many mouths, and one that will be still the soonest. I am the rest between two notes. I am the rest between two notes, which are somehow always in discord, because death's note wants to climb over. But in the dark interval, reconciled, those notes stay there, trembling, and the song goes on. Beautiful. Okay, we are the space between the notes, and we have to find the space between the notes of our life, the notes of coming and going, the notes of doing, the notes of fixing, the notes of responding, the notes of work, the notes of play, all those actually events that happen in our lives. Between them are spaces. Find the spaces. Annie Dillard says, meaning jumps in the gaps. Meaning jumps in the gaps. You're in the car going from dropping the kids off to picking up the groceries. What do you do with that time besides drive your car? Be still. Go in. At a red light, what are you doing? Be still. Go in. Close your eyes very quickly. Be still. Access what's there. Find the space. Yes.
Thank you for that. Beautiful. And it's leading me to ask this question because I feel like it's a sort of little niggling feeling in the background for so many of the women that I serve and have the gift of getting to walk with on this path, and certainly have felt this myself. It's this emotion of guilt, which I often think of as really one of the most useless emotions that we have. I mean, it's okay, let it be a spotlight, but it doesn't do anything productive other than tell us that we're not being present. And so What do you say to those who are hearing what you're saying and going, I would love to take a day. I would love to sit for an hour, but I feel guilty because I have coursework I need to do, or I need to finish reading that book for my book club, or I need to finish writing my own book. I feel guilty if I don't use every little ounce of time for something that is productive and in the direction of the dreams I said that I wanted.
Okay, what I would say is spending time alone is doing something, is building your path, is writing the book, it is essential, because if you don't, your book will be wrong.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Yes. Yes.
Your book will be wrong. It won't be authentic. It won't be based on the voice that is your voice. And I'm afraid there's only one way to access that, and that is in silence and in doing nothing. And it's not popular. It's very countercultural. You'll have to explain it to your spouse and to your kids and to your friends, and they're going to say, "You're doing what? You're doing nothing this morning. You're just sitting there." It's not going to be popular. Okay, it's very countercultural. If you are convinced of it, though, you won't care. You won't care if it's countercultural or not. It'll feel so good. It'll tell you that when. Here's the thing to remember about stopping. What is the purpose of stopping? The purpose of stopping is going. The purpose of stopping is that when you go, you're going in the right direction. You're going where you want to go. Your ladder of success is leaning against the right wall, not the wrong one. What you're going to accomplish is going to be accomplished because it's based on your truth. And you can get that truth only by just shutting up. Still, just be quiet. Be with yourself. And when you're with yourself, you're with very nice company.
So good.
Remember that. You're in very good company. And you are doing something. By doing nothing, you are doing something. And it's the something that our culture gives no value to at all. Doesn't give it any value at all. It calls it a waste of time. You're going to be saying, why am I sitting here wasting my time? Punch through that resistance. Just punch through that resistance and say, no, this is good. This is good. This will put me. The popular dictum these days is carpe diem, seize the day, right? But if you don't seize the right day, if you seize the wrong day, if you seize the wrong track, if you're writing the wrong sentence, then what good is that going to do you? You've got to you've got to do the right one, the true one. True one is only the one that's really going to be you. The only way you can find you is to be still and to be with yourself. It's, I keep apologizing. People say, I'm sorry about this. This is a hard thing to do. It's not hard to understand. Doing nothing is a pretty simple thing to understand. You just don't do anything as much as that's possible. But what's hard is to convince yourself of the value. And once you're convinced by the still points, then I think you're going to love the stopovers. And then let's talk a minute just about grinding halts. Grinding halts are the longer periods of time, like 2 weeks, a month, a year of stopping. And a lot of people get a grinding halt unwillfully. They get sick. They have an accident or something. Life stops them. And that is not the best way to do a grinding halt, because you're sick. You can't do much when you're sick except just try to get better.
Right.
And so it's a very, very unproductive grinding halt. A grinding halt, the first one I made was that one that I talked about going on the Northwest coast. But a lot of people do what they call a silent retreat. There's retreat houses all around the country that allow for a relatively inexpensive amount of money, silent directed retreats, which can be really, really wonderful, life-changing times for people. So that's something to consider.
It sounds like torture, so I probably should sign up for one.
It does. See, that's interesting. Now tell me, Amber, does that sound like torture to you?
It does, because I'm of the group of people who wants to. So I have a lot of quiet time, but I also take the time and then I go do stuff. And then I go and I have my time and then I go do stuff. And so it's very well integrated into my week. Like I have this thing, which I think you might love, David. This thing, I call it island days. So I made like Wednesday is the island in the week for me. And I don't book anything and I keep the day clear so that I can use it however I want to use it. And so like a day like yesterday, I did a little bit of work, but then I went just for a walk in the quiet and I didn't take my phone and I wasn't available. Right. And it was just me and my dog and just alone. And I find in this season of life, especially after what we've gone through last year, where so much was opened and so much came out that we can't ever stuff back in. So much truth was revealed. And then the combination of just some of my own personal grief and challenges that moving into this year. So I always have this feeling where I'm firmly entrenched in knowing I need a lot of space. And like you said, you can't create. You're going to have to go do it again. You're going to write the wrong book. I love that. I love that you said that because it's the truth. And yet there's still a vestige of me. There's still a part of me that thinks sometimes you're so weird for being the person for doing it like this, or for having so much space, or you're not going to keep up with the people, right? It's like, and I don't know who they are, but it's like this feeling that's sort of like programmed inside.
Yes, that's right. It's cultural.
Yeah.
It's programmed inside all of us. We all have that voice saying, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. Yes, very good. However, what you describe, your ins and outs of stopping, is great.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Totally.
Now, the grinding halt is really optional. Many people never do it, and that's fine.
Like I'll take a weekend where there's nothing, right? I like to call it like a white space weekend. That's what I would call it.
Okay,
and just creating spaciousness and no plans. And in past lives, that wasn't even a thing. Now it is my preference. And then, and that's what leads. And then it's like, is it worth it to make these plans? Because this space is so important for us to just move through the days and the ways we need to and just breathe. And it's an integral way that we live as a family, and it's what we want more of. And it's what I crave so deeply. Like I'm a writer. I can't write if I don't have a lot of that quiet and space to get back to myself, to go like, what do I even think? I don't even know. I don't know what I think because I haven't asked myself in a while.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're giving yourself those opportunities to ask yourself those questions.
Right.
And the best thing about stopping is it happens on its own.
Totally.
It's its own power. Stillness and solitude and quiet and aloneness, they all have their own active power. And when you're in that moment, or when you're standing on your dock, or wherever you're taking a walk, and say something comes into your mind, you might think of a childhood friend, for example. You think, I haven't thought of him for a long time. I wonder what he's doing. Okay, there's a reason for that. That friend has come to you for a reason.
Yeah.
That's your inner voice saying, where is that leading me? What is that? What is that all about?
Yes.
Those are the moments. Those are the insights that we get. And you weren't specifically trying to think of something. It just came. And that's what I try to access in those spaces between the notes. What just comes? What just pops up for you? And the only way anything's going to pop up is to shut up, be still, be quiet. Yeah, I know. And I my heart goes out to so many people these days of COVID, working families with kids and homeschooling, and oh my goodness, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. Yeah. And I try not at all to be glib about this. And I know it sounds like adding something more to your life. But again, go back to those still points, those moments that you won't even miss, and see if that doesn't add up to something for you.
My question for you next, David, is thinking about when we do get quiet, that's when the answers emerge. That's where what waits for us is waiting for us. And that's our opportunity to discover it. And when we hear, and I really think this happened for a lot of folks in the course of this last year and a half in a very sort of like choreographed collective way, right? Where people were stopping much to their dismay, and they were listening for the first time in years and years and years. And then, so I'm curious, in the context of your story, what did you discover when you were in that grinding halt, when you went and took that month away, that you knew you needed to then go do something about or change? Like that's scary. It's like we don't want to stop because we know the information's going to emerge potentially. And then we have to deal with what we discover. So did that happen for you in your personal story?
Okay, my personal experience, and I believe this is generally true for most people, when I was actually up there on the coast doing nothing came to me. No answers came to me at all. I left that experience as or almost as confused and confounded as I was when I went. Nothing. I had a moment of revelation. No, that can happen. I don't deny it, but that isn't generally what happens. What generally happens is you go back to your life and gradually, step by step, choice by choice, you realize what you want. It's hard. It's always hard work. Excuse me. And the revelation comes gradually. It comes slowly. It comes through what your friends say to you, what your spouse says to you, what your pets, how your pets respond to you, whatever way you get that knowledge, it comes gradually and it comes later. Yeah, that's one of the things about grinding halts, especially, is it isn't any great revelation. It's slow, and it's the same way with stopping. Stopping is cumulative. And if you say 3 still points in a day, that's great. But if you do 3 still points every day for a week, that's different. It's cumulative. It adds up, and the space that it creates for you is also cumulative. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So no, it isn't any sudden revelation. It's gradual. It's almost always gradual.
So when the revelation does arrive, right? I think this is sort of like a global revelation, right? This is a more open-ended revelation for what you're talking about, the mountain of too much. And I know those listening, like, let's just dive into that topic a little bit here, because I think that one of the biggest challenges is trying to figure out, well, I hear the still point invitation but I also need to decide how to make change. And so I know you're a person who's helped people on their path, right? With navigating change and navigating, just in the work that you've done for your life, right? It's helping people in times of crisis and helping people in times of revelation when they need to make change. Just from your life experience and wisdom, David, how have you navigated that in life when you knew that you need to make some sort of change? I needed to unplug from the world that is too much. I need to make a change in my way I'm doing this. What advice would you give to somebody who's maybe having that revelation just from listening to us talk today?
Well, to answer your question, how did I handle it? Bumblingly and with difficulty and with many messes and with mistakes and with trying one thing and that not working out and trying another. In other words, there's nothing miraculous, or there's nothing, there isn't this key bit of knowledge we need to attain and then we'll get it all right. No, it's step by step. It's mess after mess, and it's struggle after struggle. That doesn't change. What I hope changes is the end result. Is that when you actually do make a decision or a series of decisions or receive some kinds of revelations, that they'll be the right ones. It won't make them maybe any easier or any more smoothly brought about, but they'll have a better chance of being the right ones. That's what I'm interested in. Are they the right ones? Not are they always easy? Our mountain of too much is pretty overwhelming, and it's good. There's going to be tumbles and falls, and one of the things I think we, especially maybe as Americans, but maybe not, is we have these crazy expectations of things should be smooth and normal. That's the way things should be, and we almost think we deserve that, but they're never like that, or rarely. Everyone achieves those kinds of things through some kind of struggle. So we have to resist those kinds of cultural assumptions, I guess you'd call it.
And the sensationalizing that comes with it, right? On the tail end, to say, oh, this is a 3-step process, and let me sell it to you now because I did this. And the reality is no one is going to have the same 3 steps to get to the outcome that is meant for them and their life.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where what I hope is stopping encourages us to take responsibility for ourselves and to really be our own chief and our own executive, and to say, okay, I make the rules here, and the rules, stopping will help me know the rules that I want, that I love, that have value to me. Yeah.
I heard you in another interview talking about how that it's time to take this seriously, this invitation to start stopping. I love that, to start stopping.
Yes.
When it feels like it's harder. And you were saying that, in the past, like questioning oneself. And in the past, I was able to just do it all. I was able to juggle all the balls. I was able, what's wrong with me? Why can't? And I've felt that this year for sure. I'm turning 40 in just a few days. And I'm going, is this midlife thing that they talked about when I was young? I'm like, oh, is that what's happening now? So why does it get harder?
I believe it gets harder because what we were talking about with the mountain of too much, our time never gets bigger.
Yeah.
Our time is the same 24 hours. That's limited. That's it. And our energy actually decreases.
That's it. Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
So when you've got the same amount of time, much more to do, and much less energy, something's got to give.
That equation does not add up.
It does not add up. It's a disastrous equation.
Yes.
It's actually a recipe for disaster. So my theory is that stopping stops that process. It puts a roadblock in that process and gives you some breathing room and gives you some allowance to know actually who you are and what you want. That's the whole purpose of stopping.
And getting to who you are and what you want, what you desire, what you're here for. I mean, aren't these sort of the tenets of being here and human, like discovering those things? Isn't that kind of the point?
Isn't that kind of the point? Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's it in a nutshell. Thank you for saying it that way. Mm-hmm. Because stopping is immensely important, because it's about life. It's about how we live life. It's about what they're going to say about us when we're gone. It's about doing it right or getting it wrong, because it gives us access to that wisdom that we need. Yeah. So it's hugely important. It's much, much more important than any financial figure or any other measure of life. It's life itself. That's really what we're talking about, is going in the direction that we actually want to go in, and go with the people we actually want to be with.
Yeah. Yeah. These are the days. Mm-hmm.
One of the things I like to recall about this is a saying from Milan Kundera, a Czech novelist. And in his book, Slowness, he makes this equation. Slowness is to remembering as speed is to forgetting. Picture this in your mind. You're walking down the street and you want to remember something. You want to remember somebody's name. What's the name of that person? And you automatically slow down, scratch your head and say, oh, that's it. Okay. And then you speed up again. So when you slow down, you remember. When you speed up, you forget. Slowness is to remembering as speed is to forgetting. And how many of us are zooming around life, getting this done and getting that done and thinking, hey, I'm getting a lot done. This is great. And I need to do even more. And my response is, no, you need to do even less, because by doing less and being more, you will actually get more done. And the things you get done will be the right things, the ones you choose, the ones that have actually have value to you, not the ones that the world values. Because how sad if we were to live our life according to the values that the world gives us. You know, what is that? That's a lost life.
Yes. Yes. And I will say it can feel really uncomfortable when your ladder of success is still up against that wall and you're looking at it going, I don't want to climb that ladder anymore. I'm not interested in that.
Wow. And that's really difficult. That's hard to make those changes. Yes. Yeah. But they can be made. And sometimes they have to be, pared down a bit or changed a bit or whatever. But, I really believe that in most cases they really can. You can make them, even in midlife like I did. It's never too late. Never too late for this. Never too late.
You're making me think of, and I tell this story all the time, but I didn't really connect it to your work until this very moment. When I became a mother, I had a near-death experience when my daughter was born. So there's a stop. But moreover, I became a mother and I went on maternity leave for the first time. I stopped. I mean, I was a Division I athlete, and then I worked in Division I athletics. And so it was always about next season and racing and sprinting and trying to be as fit as possible and sell as many tickets. It was just a race.
Oh, yeah.
And I had those 3.5 months. Granted, I was with a newborn baby, but she really only does 3 things. It's pretty consistent cycle. But I remember thinking, this is the first time in my entire life that I've ever stopped. And there was a conversation I had with a friend, and she called me, and I was crying because I knew I was going back to work in a few weeks, and I knew that something had to change, but I didn't have an alternative, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I had this big career, but I had this child, and I knew my life was going to change in one way or shape or form. I was going to change it to be with her. And I remember her saying to me on the phone, Amber, this is your life. And I just listened and I paused and I breathed it in and I thought to myself, I've never thought of this way before, but this is my life. The whole of my life will be influenced by this moment and how I choose to respond to this season that is upon me. And so it took some time, but I did end up leaving my career and launching a business where I could work from home and be with my daughter, full time. And
wow.
Yeah. And there were so many, and really like stopping has been the primary prescriptive for how I've chosen to live the last 7 years. And I've slowed down and I feel like I'm moving at the slowest pace I've ever moved at.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. That's a great story. Thank you.
Yeah. And you're welcome. And at times I still have that moment because it was so ingrained to always be running, but I can't go, I will never go back. I can't, because this is my life.
Yeah. Yeah. This moment, this life is no dress rehearsal. Yes. This is it. This is it. Yes. What a wonderful experience. Good for you.
Yeah. Thank you. We have this sign in our living room and it says, "These are the days." And I keep it there for a reason because I want to remember that.
These are the days. These are the good old days.
These are the good old days right now, this minute, this moment.
They're happening right now.
They're here, these faces of the people that we love, and just treasuring them. I mean, I sit when I'm driving my daughter to school. First of all, I just never want her to go to school. I just want her to be home all day. But I want to just be with her, and I look in the rearview mirror and I look at her little face and I just go, oh,
yeah.
Oh,
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, in the best of ways, right? It's such a gift.
That's right. Yes,
such a gift.
Yes.
I get to be her mother, but no, I so appreciate your work. And I cry a lot.
Thank you.
I live on the verge of tears because, of course, I do.
Of course you do. Living on the verge of tears is living a true life.
Yeah, totally.
It's living with no tears.
Yeah.
It's living with no tears. That's the hidden life. So good for you, Amber. That's wonderful. I love tears. I cry a lot myself.
I know, it's all the time, and it's, I try never to apologize, because why apologize for being a full person, to showing the full spectrum of your being? It's like, no, it's reverence. It's tears come from a place of love. So
love.
Yeah. So thank you. I have such reverence for your work and for the life you've lived that leads to this. Your life is the body of work. And I can tell just from the time we've had together today, David, how intentionally you have done your life. And I thank you for sharing that here. And then in the contributions of the books, you have 7 books that you've written. 7. That's a big deal. Way to go.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Yeah. So where, besides buying the book, are there other things you're doing, other ways people can support you and your work right now?
No, not really. My website is stopping.com, easy to find. And my books are there, and I'm basically retired now. So I'm not doing any more seminars or things like that. But it would be great if they wanted to visit the website.
Yeah. And please purchase the book, friends, and share it with your communities. I truly, I have lots of incredible people on my podcast who've written really important books. And this one's got to be at the baseline of importance, because all the other stuff that we're always talking about, creating and curating and contributing, it's like, how do we get there if we can't breathe?
Exactly.
And so this is a very simple and sacred practice, and one that I'm going to continue to be doing on the daily. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate being with you.
Thank you, David. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did in producing it. And I want to invite you to help us in continuing to grow this show and its reach, to connect to the hearts and minds of those who need to hear it, who will benefit from it, and who will enjoy connecting with the incredible guests that we get to have on every week. In order to do that, I ask for you to head on over to iTunes and to leave a review and to subscribe and to find this podcast in other places, on Spotify, on Google Play, on Libsyn, and to become a regular participant, to let us know what you love and what really served you, to share it on Instagram, and to tag me so that I can shout you back out over there on the gram as well. Your participation means the world to us. And we're so excited for all to come in 2020. New episodes, new guests. We're going to actually be doing coaching sessions on air live. And so if that's something you're interested in, we invite you to send an email to hello@amberlillystrom.com with a challenge that you are currently facing in your life, in your business. And yours truly will reach out to a handful of you guys and hop on air and do a little coaching session. I'm so excited about this. I also want to say thank you and invite you to grab my freebie and my gift to you. It's called 7 Secrets to Uplevel Your Brand and Land Your Dream Clients. It's a little behind the scenes tool sharing all of the secrets that I have found along the way in building a multiple 7-figure business from home with my family that have really served in a profound way. And some of these might come as a surprise. So head on over to amberlillystrom.com/7 secrets to grab it now. I look forward to seeing you back here next week. And I want to say thank you to my team, our producers, Kristen Hubbard, and to my beloved husband, Ben Lillystrom, for making this podcast top notch and for putting their efforts into it. Rachel for writing up our show notes, Kristen for doing the graphics, for communicating with our guests, and also to my brother, Victor Rads, for producing the sound that goes with this episode. He is a musician and he is awesome. Thank you guys for being here, and I will catch you back on the podcast next week.